Hello, hello, hello. It is 12 o'clock. Welcome to this week's Ask Schellie segment. Woo, boy, I am so happy to be here. I would much rather be doing what I'm doing right now as compared to what I just got done doing. So anyway, it is 12 o'clock. Actually, it's technically 12:01. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Welcome to this week's Ask Schellie segment. My name is Schellie Fanfan. I am your emotional intelligence expert. Yes. Hello, Jimmy. Welcome to this week's Ask Schellie segment. Hi, Eddie. Thank you so much for logging in. Welcome, Instagram. Welcome, Facebook. Again, I am Schellie Fanfan. I am the owner, the CEO and founder of Ask Schellie Consulting, where I have the pleasure and the privilege and the honor of partnering with corporations, large and small businesses, teaching psychoeducation to get them to the next level. So this is why I say I am so happy to be here right now. I hope my lighting is okay. I just kind of came on because I am in a rush, was in a rush. So I just had to deliver my results on an assessment. So I go out to a corporation and they say, this is our issue. We have large staff turnover. We can't seem to get our team motivated. There's a lot of conflict in the office. We have many incidents that happen on a normal basis. Hi, Eddie. Thank you so much for logging in. Hi, Liz Carmen. Hi, Bree. I'm just saying hello to all my Facebook family. And so I go in as an emotional intelligence consultant to assess the issues. I speak with the staff. I do personality assessments. I do satisfaction surveys. I do all types of things. And then I have to come in with this report at the end. And so when you have to go before a board and, who are expecting you to say, you need to fire this person and you need to fire that person. And, you guys are doing an amazing job and your team, you need to just bring in a whole new team when they are expecting to hear everything else, but y'all are the problem. That's hard. It's a difficult task to have to sit in front of owners and big, people who have a lot of stake in a company and a lot of power in a company to say the issue is coming from the top. Okay, we really need to look at your leadership. We really need to look at your policies and procedures. Your staff are not failing you. It's your leadership style that is. Your staff are not failing you. It's your lack of policy and planning that is. And because you guys can't get it together, your staff can't get it together. The conflict that you have amongst each other as leaders trickle down to your staff. And so that's a very difficult conversation to have. So I'd much rather be here with you. So again, I'm an emotional intelligence expert, licensed psychotherapist here in the state of Florida. I love being able to share questions that people ask of me on this platform. I always say that this is no way an attempt to replace therapy, because that is a process that includes your informed consent, our partnership as therapist and client coming together to partner with one another to get you to your next level. This is me providing a perspective. It's providing a response that hopefully you can add to your wellness toolbox and you can share with someone that you believe needs to hear it as well. It's for information purposes only. And if you want more, you can contact me at info@askschellie.com. You can call me at 407-350-5070. You can visit with me at www.askschellie.com. So today we are highlighting two questions, starting with this one. Now look, for those of you who are listening, I need your participation. We are all experts within our own right. So make sure you comment. I do appreciate your shares. I want to hear from you and I want to hear your perspective. So we're starting with question one. Dear Ask Schellie, I am writing in because I need the perspective of a strong Black woman. That would be me. Okay, so what is your take on submission? I find it to be a sign of weakness, and I just can't bring myself to submit to any man. Thoughts? That was it. It was nice, short, and sweet. Let me repeat it. What's going on with my laptop? Okay. 1 second. Okay, so it says, Dear Ask Schellie, I am writing in because I need the perspective of a strong Black woman. What is your take on submission? I find it to be a sign of weakness, and I just can't bring myself to submit to any man. Your thoughts? So what do you guys think about submission? I'd like to hear your thoughts from the men and women who are on. What are your thoughts on submission? I want to say this, and there's many different places that I can go with this. I will say that thank you so much for your compliment. Hello, Corner Pocket. So thank you so much for your compliment. And yes, I am a strong Haitian American woman, and I was raised around very traditional women, right? These were very strong, very powerful women that, really honored their husbands, cooked for them, honored them, revered them as, kings and priests of the household, even in situations where they probably did not deserve it. And I don't want to disrespect my family members, but I will say they loved and honored their men through situations where I would have been like, no. Okay. And so I think that my perspective may be a little biased because of my traditional views when it comes to submission. So I just want to put that out there for the listener, but I definitely want to hear from you guys. So this is what I wanted to share, and I'm really excited about it. And I hate that because I have a second question that's not coming up, and I want to make sure that the listener who's made it very clear that they are on today gets to be highlighted as well. So tell me what your thoughts are. Hi, Robert Adams. We're talking about submission. Thoughts on submission. Thoughts on submission. Okay. So I was sitting with a client the other day, so upset about these technical issues, but I'm going to keep on going. So I was sitting with a client the other day who sees his entire world, the entire perspective, everything that the way that he interprets the world is from the perspective of the game of chess, right? And so one day I was like, you know what? I really want to get lost in his world. So I asked him to share about the game, like teach me this game, because I don't play chess. I don't know much about it. If you know how to play chess, you'll probably know much more than I do, and you'll probably know a little bit of what I'm saying or what I'm sharing today. But so here we go. So he sees the world from the perspective of the game of chess. And so he starts to explain the different players in chess, like what the different pieces represent. And I took some notes, and hi there, Sherry. And so I took some notes, and I don't know if I'm going to remember them because my laptop is not working. So, all right, so if I remember correctly, there are pawns, right? Help me if you play chess. There are pawns. These are the ones that are kind of like the frontliners. They are the sacrificial lamb. He referred to them as crash dummies. And then there was the knights. These are the men on horses, right? And they move in an L shape, he said. They move in an L shape. And there's the rook. They move in an I shape, I think. They move in an I shape. I don't know if I'm getting this right. And then there's the bishop that moves straight across the board in an X shape, right? And so he's talking about all of the different pieces on the board and the directions where they go. And so I asked him, well, what is the ultimate point of the game? And he said, the ultimate point of the game, I'm getting to the queen and king. Thank you, Bree. The ultimate point of the game is to destroy the king. The ultimate point of the game is to destroy the king. And the minister in me wants to go off from a biblical perspective on this. I'm going to try to stick with the context of the question. And so he's talking about, so the ultimate point of the game is to destroy the king. And he says that the queen's ultimate responsibility, while everybody else is working together to protect the king, that the ultimate responsibility falls on the queen to protect her king. The ultimate responsibility falls on the queen. He further educated me and said that the queen has full reign over the board. While some can only move in an L shape, and some can only move in an X shape, and some can only move in an I shape, that the queen could move, had full reign all over the board. And so when we were leaving session, I said to him, I said, you know what? You never told me the movement that the king can make. And he says, well, the king is so powerful. Come on. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. This makes me so excited. He said the king is so powerful that he is limited in his own movement. See, his role is so important. His role is so important that he's incarcerated by his own power. He can only go up one, back one, up one, back one. And so still in this context, the queen, although her ultimate responsibility is to protect the king, she has a lot of power on the board. It reminds me of the king of the jungle. Who's the king of the jungle? The lion. Who does the hunting? The lioness. See, when we go back to God's blueprint, he gave us a blueprint. He gave us a map in which to follow so that we can live effective and happy lives. God gave that to us for us to live effective and happy lives. And so when God was creating things in the earth, he created the heavens and it was good, and he created the fowls of the air and it was good, the fish of the sea was good. In Genesis, it's very clear. There was one creation where God said, you know what? I don't know how good that is. And that was the creation of man. See, God recognized that the man needed a what? A wombed man to stand by his side. And that is God's blueprint. Men need us and we need men. And I know that we are in a time where women are saying, we don't need no man, we don't need no man. All I need is a pack of good batteries, right? But biblically, we were not wired that way. We were wired to be interdependent on one another. Interdependent, not codependent. That's a whole nother lie. But interdependent, hold strong and mighty together as one. Mighty together as one. So this writer, I don't see submission as weakness at all. As a matter of fact, I see it as a sign of strength because I am a strong and powerful woman. I have spiritual gifts activated full throttle on the inside of me. I have the power of prayer. I got God on my side. I got God's anointing on my side. I'm the CEO of 2 businesses. I am busy from morning, noon, and night. Always busy. I'm inundated. There's so much demand on my time and on my expertise that when in all of my power and all of my strength and all of my beauty that I submit to you, that's a gift. And that is strength. That takes a lot of strength and confidence and esteem for oneself to be able to give that gift to a man. The gift of submission. There was a time where it did not feel like a gift. There was a time when it did not feel like a gift, I will tell you that. And so during that time, I was with someone who made it seem like I had to do things. I had to and I had to and I needed to and I had to. And I'm telling you, it was a very aversive experience. It really was. It was a very aversive experience because it no longer felt like a gift. And I was truly hurt by that. And when coming out of that relationship, I really started to feel like this ain't going to happen again. This is not worth it. I'm never going to submit to a man that way again. But that was hurt. That was hurt. The issue was not submission. The issue was his self-esteem issues. That was the issue. his self-esteem issues, that he needed to maintain a certain level of control over what he perceived as independence. No, it's not independence, it's power. And a good man will recognize that, value, and honor that. And so I had to heal from that and understand that submission was a very, very safe place. It was a safe place when you align yourself with someone that you are ordained to be with, when you align yourself with someone who is healed and whole, someone who has lived successfully single, someone who has a reverent fear of God and an intimate relationship with God. When we start to connect ourselves with people who are whole and healed, it makes things like submission safe. So again, my response to this person is, I actually believe that submission is a sign of strength. I do recommend that if this is something that you feel has been a major issue in your relationships, that you seek counseling, that you seek therapy. Therapy is very beneficial in helping you reframe certain thoughts that are not healthy, to take that automatic thinking and reframe it to something much more productive, making sure that you are separating feelings from facts. That's really important. A lot of times we live our life like feelings are facts. They are not. Okay, feelings are not facts, but therapy helps with that. And so if you are in a place where you're feeling like your inability or your unwillingness to submit to a man is really impacting relationships, then get the help to do it. Align yourself with someone who's anointed, someone who's experienced, someone who can walk you through that healing process so you can love and get lost in relationship with someone who's ordained, that you are ordained to be with, someone who is strong, someone who is powerful, someone who will recognize that your submission is an invaluable and priceless gift. Okay? What do you guys think? Tell me what you think. I'm about to restart my laptop here because I really want to get to question 2. Tell me what it is you think. The lights will come back on in just a second. Having some technical difficulties here. What do you think about submission? What do you think about submission? Is it a weakness? Is submission a weakness? What would you say to this woman who submitted her question saying that, or it wasn't necessarily a question, it was more like a perspective, that she felt that submission was a sign of weakness? Do you believe that to be the truth? Instagram, do you believe that to be the truth? Hello, Facebook. Tell me what you think. What would you say to this strong, powerful woman about her perspective on submission? Sherry Smith says that submission is powerful. It is. I really don't see it as a sign of weakness at all. I mean, for those of you who know me, I believe that through God, through God's grace, that I am a powerhouse and I am far from weak, but I do believe in the importance of submission. And again, God's blueprint, his order, it's very, very clear. So Eddie Stark says, submission is a two-way street for the man and woman. It's a sign of commitment to the relationship and to each other. I love it. Thank you so much. Did you guys hear that, Instagram? This is from a man. He says that submission is a two-way street for the man and woman. It's a sign of commitment to the relationship and to each other. See, what makes a relationship work is two people who are committing to meeting the needs of the other, right? To meeting the needs of the other. And I spoke about this when I was talking about loving and caring. And in this, especially when you're in a healthy relationship, you are able to submit to the needs of the other person and prioritize their needs, understanding that simultaneously they will meet your need. And so you have two strong people prioritizing the needs of the other, coexisting with one another, and they are happy. And so part of meeting the needs, and that's the definition of caring, meeting the needs of someone else, part of that process requires submitting to those needs, and that is an act of caring. I do not in any way, shape, or form see it as a sign of weakness. I just don't. Hello, Deja. Thank you for joining. Jean Creole St. Louis, thank you for watching. I'd like one more comment. One more comment on submission. I love that it's a two-way street. We automatically assume that submission is like the woman submitting, right? That the woman is submitting. It doesn't necessarily, he says it's a two-way street, that men also submit. And so it's a mutual act. It's a mutual act. It's happening simultaneously between two healthy people that honor it as invaluable. Love it. One more comment. Submission. Is it a weakness or a strength? When can it become a weakness? When can submission become a weakness? When can it become a weakness? Hello, Dr. Michael Johnson. We're talking about submission. I'm trying to get everybody's feedback on what they see or what their take is on submission. I had a person, a strong woman, high-achieving woman, write in and say, I see submission as a form of weakness. It really interferes in her relationships, and she wanted my take on it. And I said, you know what? You probably asked the wrong person, because I grew up in a very traditional family where women honored their men through the worst scenarios and through the worst situations, trust me. And so there was a time when I could have walked away from that wounded, where I could have walked away from that believing that men were not worth that. I could have, but thank you for the healing and the grace of God, because I no longer feel that way. I no longer feel that way. So Eddie Stark says, when being demanded by one party. So I talked about when can submission become a weakness, and his response was when being demanded by one party. So this is when it becomes something not necessarily done in the spirit of love, but doing it in the spirit of power and control. And that is not of God. It just isn't. Thank you, Mr. Starks. All right, so on Instagram, someone says not submitting from either male or female could very well be a pride issue. This is when pride comes in, right? We know that pride can definitely stop people from submitting. And I think that in addition to emotional injury, I think that's a very good point, that it can also come from a place of pride where I don't want to submit. You know, and this is when we start thinking that submission is somewhat of a hierarchical thing, right? And it really isn't. It's honor. Listen, remember what we talked about when we were talking about the chess game, and how the queen's ultimate responsibility is to honor, because that's a high level of honor, to protect the king. So when we look about life's problems, world problems, and the real struggle of our kings in this day and age, can it be because the queen is not in her place? Woo! Sorry. Sherry Smith says, if we are not submitting, we are resisting. Amen. If we are not submitting, we are resisting. And we cannot move forward in life resisting and not coexisting in peace and harmony with one another. Thank you. See, I told you guys are experts as well. I got my next question up. My laptop is still acting up, but I think it just came up. Here we go. So we talked about submission. We have concluded that submission is not a weakness, that it is a form of strength, that it's something that should be mutual, and it's a beautiful thing. And you need to be healthy to be able to submit in a healthy way and not take your power and disrespect your queenhood and your royalty. The next question. Dear Ask Schellie, I don't know where to begin. Unlike many married women who have been married for over 25 years, I am actually in love with my husband. Let's applaud that. Let's applaud that. See, the devil is a liar. The devil didn't want us to go here today. So he means the world to me. I would never want to do anything to hurt him or make him feel like less of a man. I need your help with finding out the best way to tell him that I think he needs to see a doctor for what I am certain is erectile dysfunction. I have been patient and loving, but I am secretly growing more and more frustrated with the lack of intimacy. How do I tell him? How do I tell him that his penis is simply not working? I can't make this stuff up, y'all. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even be laughing. I love what I do. I'm going to repeat the question. Thank you so much for being patient. Those who are just logging on, my laptop just like literally crashed during the live and I couldn't retrieve the second question I wanted to highlight today, and I just did. I'm going to repeat it. So the second question for this week's Ask Schellie segment. Dear Ask Schellie, I don't know where to begin. Unlike many married women who have been married for over 25 years, I am actually in love with my husband. He means the world to me. I would never want to do anything to hurt him or make him feel like less of a man. I need your help with finding out the best way to tell him that I think he needs to see a doctor from what I am certain is erectile dysfunction. I have been patient and loving, but I am secretly growing more and more frustrated with the lack of intimacy, which, by the way, sex and intimacy are two different things. If you're still in love with him, my assumption is that you guys still have intimacy. That's a different story. How do I tell him that his penis is simply not working? So I want to hear from you guys, and I'm assuming that she was kind of joking at the end because that was quite funny how she ended that question. But how do you tell someone that you love that there is a situation? How do you deliver news that may break someone? How do you deliver news or have a conversation that's absolutely needed that may hurt someone that you love? How do we do that? How does this woman confront her husband about what she is certain is erectile dysfunction? Someone from Instagram is saying she needs to be honest with him. He is probably going crazy mentally about the situation. Thank you. And that's Woe02. I hope I'm saying it right. Thank you so much, Woe02, for logging in. And thank you for your feedback. He says she just needs to be honest with him. He is probably going crazy mentally about the situation. How can this woman, or how should this woman, tell her husband, we got a problem here? Right? How do you do that without hurting or crushing the manhood? How do you not crush someone, a man, by letting him know that there's a problem with his private parts? So here we go. Exposure and honesty often hurts. And there really isn't anything that we can do about it. We live in a world, it rains on the just and unjust. Not everything is going to be hunky-dory. Not everything is going to be a walk in the park with white lilies or whatever lilies look like, or daisies or whatever. There are times in life, just like there's a time for everything, where we have to address very challenging topics with people that we love and respect. And so understanding that God's glory, right? His nature is glory to glory to glory to glory. That's God's nature. Glory to glory. God is always in the work. His work is always to increase, to make stronger, to make wiser, to make us more resistant. That's God's nature. That's his glory, to grow us, always in the process of growing us. That is God's nature. And so when we try to stop that process because we don't want to hurt somebody, healing begins with exposure. A lot of the times that we think exposure comes to punish people, or no. That may be a natural consequence when you're exposed, but exposure always comes for the sole purpose of healing. And so when we don't have these conversations, we are only prolonging or delaying the process of healing. When we do not sit down and have these difficult conversations with people that we love and respect, we are just delaying the healing process. So the first thing that I want to tell this person, this listener, this writer is, listen, have the conversation. Have the conversation. For those of you who are just joining in, hello, Instagram. Those who are joining on Facebook, I just read a question from a woman who's been married to her husband for about 25 years. Hey, Carla. And she wants to confront him about his erectile dysfunction. So she wants to know, how do I do this? How do I share this with him? How do I bring this up? And the first thing that I said is, listen, there are going to be many times in life where we have to sit down and have difficult conversations with the people that we love. And we have to grow comfortable with the discomfort. You got to grow comfortable with the discomfort, because a lot of the times our breakthrough, our healing, our next level is on the other side of something that we are terribly uncomfortable with. So first, have the conversation. It's okay. Exposure, confrontation, this is the start of healing. And we want to make sure that we are not in the way of someone else's healing. Now, it's important to make sure that when you are going to deliver, when you are going to take part or facilitate this very difficult conversation with someone that you love, that you do it in a place of intention. We want to be intentional and not emotional. When you are going to have a very difficult conversation with someone, you want to be intentional and not emotional. Sherry Smith says, this definitely deserves a conversation with compassion and grace. Yes, we have to have this conversation with compassion and grace. This is important. You have to be intentional and not emotional. What does that mean, to be intentional about a conversation? You don't just want to be washing dishes or having dinner, at Fridays and then start talking about his penis not working. That's not very intentional. You want to make sure that you have thought about the best location, that you have thought about the best time to have this conversation. You have assessed that you are the best person to be the deliverer of, to facilitate this conversation. Obviously, when we're talking about erectile dysfunction, that's something that's very intimate between husband and wife. But there may be times when a very important topic needs to be confronted with someone that you love, and you may not be the best person to be the facilitator. That's why it's important to really to be intentional, because when you're intentional about having these difficult conversations, you have already gone through this checklist. Am I the right person? Is this the right place? Is this the right time? That's when we do things from a place of intention. You don't want to be emotional about it, that he just told you that your cooking is horrible and the steak was salty again, and you want to blurt out that his penis don't work. We don't want that. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we are being intentional and not emotional when we are having this conversation. The second thing that's important is to make sure that you're not prefacing the conversation with a statement that's going to trigger negative emotions. Oh my God, let me say that again. When you are going to have a difficult conversation with someone that you love, you don't want to preface the conversation with a statement that's going to trigger negative emotions. I cannot stand, I have a loved one. Oh man, I can't wait for him to see this, because I tell him this all the time. He loves to start conversations by saying, I know you're going to get mad, but... Well, now I'm mad. I didn't even hear what you had to say. I'm already frustrated and I didn't even hear what you had to say. So make sure that you are not prefacing the conversation with a statement that's going to pre-trigger, right? Prematurely trigger a negative emotion, okay? We want to make sure that we are intentional about our conversation, that we're very careful about what we say. A lot of times when you're having this intentional conversation and you're still delaying even in that moment, it makes it even worse. Because I feel like if you're struggling to have it, my frustration is already rising, because I've been sitting here for 5 or 10 minutes and you're giving me like this fluff. Just give it to me. Just give it to me. Sometimes there are just certain times where we just got to get straight to the point. As long as it's not coming from an emotional place, you're intentional, you know what you're going to say, you know that you're the right person to deliver this message, you know that you have to pick the best time, the best situation, and then we're ready, right? And we're not prefacing with anything that's going to prematurely trigger any negative emotions. A lot of times when we have to discuss difficult topics, just say what you see. It's important to focus more on facts than what you feel. And I know that may not necessarily apply in every situation, but I think it really applies here. It really applies in this situation where you're discussing his erectile dysfunction, that you state the facts. And when you're confused about what that looks like, just remember, say what it is you see. State the facts that we're not having sex anymore, and you avoid, or you appear to be avoidant of situations where historically we have had sex, right? Or when we do have sex, it's very short, you prematurely ejaculate, or, we'll start having sex and then we have to stop because you're unable to continue. So again, you don't want to bruise his manhood, but you also have to state the facts, right? And try to withhold emotions as much as you possibly can. State the facts, say what you see. State the facts and say what you see. I think it's important to also normalize it. I think in America right now, we're up to about 3 million cases a year of men who need treatment to address erectile dysfunction. And I know that there's probably so much involved in that. The food that we eat, high blood pressure, and because high blood pressure medication is usually a lot of the reason why men experience this. And there's so many things. I mean, but I can go on and on about health and eating right. I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm definitely not in the position to start to diagnose why. However, 3 million cases a year. 3 million cases a year of men who undergo treatment for erectile dysfunction. So I think that in this conversation, if you normalize that with your husband and make sure that he understands that it's not like this bad thing, that he is not a man and he's the only man in the world that experiences erectile dysfunction, I think it's important to normalize it and let him know. There's 3 million cases, and assure that he understands that while you're normalizing it, you're still highlighting the dysfunction. That although you're normalizing it, you're still highlighting the dysfunction. What am I saying here? Sometimes when we normalize things with people, then they think it's okay. So let's say if you normalize depression with people, right? And you say, well, there are a lot of people who are depressed. Doctors experience depression. Lawyers experience depression. Pastors experience depression. We don't want to get it to the point that we normalize it so much that the person just accepts, well, it's normal and I got it, so I don't have to do anything about it, right? We want to make sure that while we're normalizing it, we're still highlighting the dysfunction. And that dysfunction is here. Honey, while there's 3 million cases a year, there are many, many men that experience erectile dysfunction, whether they talk about it or not. But this is what I believe it's doing to our relationship. I'm starting to get frustrated. I want to be close to you. I want to have that form of intimacy with you. I see the frustration that it causes you when these things happen and we're not able to finish. You don't sleep. I notice that you become highly irritable. I notice in situations like that, when we have had a failed episode, that you drink more. You say what you see. Normalize it, but continue to highlight the dysfunction, because we want people to continue to be motivated to do what they have to do to get well. Okay? Propose a plan, right? So we were intentional about it. You weren't emotional about it. You stated the facts, you normalized it, you highlighted the dysfunction, and propose a plan. I found a doctor that has this amazing success rate. He does this as a specialty. There are many, many married couples that are now having very healthy sex lives as a result of his treatment. And so I'm proposing that we schedule an appointment. I'll go with you. If you prefer to go by yourself, that's fine as well. There's openings for next week. It's right around the corner. Our insurance covers. Sometimes you got to put things in people's face like, come on now. Like, here, you've been dealing with depression. You've been talking about killing yourself. I got a therapist. I got an appointment. I will go with you. I've talked to your boss already. You can take off. I will drive you across town. Sometimes you just got to lay it out for people. Not work harder toward their recovery than themselves, because I'm not a fan of that either. And we don't want to, promote codependency either. But I think it's important to give people a head start in situations where they may be stuck. So after you propose a plan, I think it's important to have recovery. What is recovery? Recovery is after you have had this very difficult conversation with someone that you love, this was confrontational. It was really tough. It was really challenging that you do something for recovery. And that means that we're going to now go for massages. We're going to go for a good movie. We're going to have some quality time, which is 3 forms of contact happening at once: eye contact, skin contact, verbal contact. You invite his friends over so they can go play basketball. Some type of recovery. And I think sometimes we skip that and we walk away from very difficult interactions with people that we love wide open, wide open, just angry, just offended, just, feeling less than, feeling not enough. And we skip that part, just recovery. How are we now going to recover from this very challenging conversation? And that's important too. And if you still think that you don't have the wherewithal to have this conversation with your husband, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to www.askschellie.com. You can email me at info@askschellie.com. If I'm not the one that you should partner with, I would definitely assist you with linking with someone that can. But you don't have to continue to be frustrated in your marriage. There is help. And the help starts with confronting the situation and not burying it under the rug. So I thank you all for logging in today and tuning into this week's Ask Schellie segment. I appreciate your shares. I appreciate your feedback. I am here for you. I am your emotional intelligence expert. I love the feedback that you guys give me, the emails, the phone calls, the text messages for those of you who have my personal information. It keeps me absolutely motivated. And I love the fact that you guys hold me accountable and keep me reminded of the great gifts that God has put on the inside of me. And I am honored to partner with you in helping you remember the amazing gifts that you have on the inside of you. Again, I'm Schellie Fanfan, your emotional intelligence expert. I will see you next Tuesday live at 12.